Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nisrina Habriyah and I'm third year psychology student from Unimas. Today, I'll be talking about a culture-bound syndrome in Malay culture called Mengamuk. Mengamuk comes from the Malay word Amok, which means to go on a sudden violent rampage. It's when a person suddenly loses control, becomes aggressive, and attacks people or objects, often followed by exhaustion or not remembering what happened. Historically, this was seen by a Malay man who felt deep anger, humiliation, or pressure but couldn't express it openly. The term Amok even entered English from Malay culture centuries ago. In modern times, news reports in Malaysia, such as The Star in 2025, have shown that Amok incidents still occur, often involving people struggling with stress or untreated mental illness. For example, men with mental illness dies after running amok in Penang. Other than that, psychology studies like running amok, a modern perspective on a culture-bound syndrome, PMC, also explain that amok can be linked to conditions such as impulse control disorder, depression, or psychosis, especially when emotions are suppressed for too long. In relation to mental health, Mengamuk shows how bottled up emotions and social expectation can push someone to extreme behavior. It reminds us of the importance of seeking help early and reducing the stigma around anger or emotional struggles. In summary, Mengamuk is not just a traditional concept, it's a cultural reflection of how emotional pressure, identity, and mental health connect in our society. I think that's all from me. Thank you. Bye.
I'm Martina, Dewi, and Matu, and I was third year psychology student. And for my part, I will describe or discuss a little bit about the Mengamuk, which is the words come from the Malay terms or known as Mengamuk. So the meaning is to make a furious charge. So it was a psychological event which is categorized by a sudden or unprovoked explosion of rage that might be lead to the indiscriminate attack on the people and the object. It often ending the attacker death. The modern secretary view it as a severe psychopathological behavior. So who can affect by the amok? So firstly, we focus on the individual who have the characteristic of the amok. So to understand the amok, we must look at the person behind of it. So it called as the preparator. So this act is almost always the climax of a long period of the hidden suffering. The attacker, typically a male who have a previously have a withdrawn with the brooding or even the depressed. So the violence is triggered and then by the desperate feeling of shame and then profound loss or even acute slight that shatter the honor. And the final, it is frenetic state, which is they often experience a dissociative break and may have a total loss amnesia afterward. So for many, this seen as a form by a suicide range in culture where direct suicide is forbidden. So for the community, the second is the most immediate effect on the victim. So mostly the victim who will affect from the community is mostly the random or innocent people which is caught in the attacker path. So the violence is indiscriminate result the multiple injuries and even the homicide. For the entire community, the attack shatter their sense of safety can leading to the ripple effects for the lasting psychological trauma including PTSD, anxiety, and even grief among survivor and the witness of the Amok event.
Hello, my name is Linda Darius and I'm a third year psychology student at Unimas. So today I will be sharing one of the most famous example of culture bound syndrome, which is Amok, or better known as Mengamuk. So basically, Mengamuk is the behavioral conditions that involves sudden or intense outbursts of violence and aggressive behaviors that could lead to injury or even death to the other person. So these behavioral conditions primarily found in the Southeast Asian country such as Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. People who experience mengamuk or amok are usually quiet or withdrawn before the episode. Then they will enter a state of frenzy and starting to attack anyone near them. Then after that, they will experience confusions or exhaustions or even amnesia and couldn't remember what they doing afterwards. In the past, the community often believed that if someone's mengamuk or amok, they were actually being possessed by an evil spirit and not just because they are actually an evil person. So by blaming on the evil spirit, the community can actually feel pity on the attacker and not just blaming them 100%. So this is one of the traditional ways for the society to make sense of that truly terrifying and senseless acts. That is all from me. Thank you very much.